Fuck this, I'm getting my teaching permit.
Installation 07, because in the Machinima community it's really hard to make a comedy series that I actually find funny, or at least consistently funny. And Installation 07 does all that with a bunch of references and things that I like and things that I get, and it's like a match made in heaven. It's a perfect series made for me, and I fucking love Genesis Films, Jerry Freeman, for making it. He's the best guy ever. Please.
What the hell are you doing?
Hey man, I'll suck your dick through these bars if you let us out.
Promised Land by Pep, and to extension everything that Lambda D, Jack HF, and Pep have made, because, I don't know, it's hard to come by serious machinima that's actually engaging and doesn't fall in the range of being fucking retarded or stupid and just a bunch of explosions and actions and nothing of substance in between. And it seems like these three creators, or at least this channel, seems to be putting in the reins or putting in the effort to do so, like especially Promised Land, because I haven't seen a machinima that shows a bit of, you know, dark, serious moments without it seeming preachy or at least underdone. And I think Pep did a pretty good job doing that, and also has a bit of a cinematic movie realistic feel. I don't know how to explain it, but it feels real and something you would actually see in a movie theater, and I do appreciate that for someone who actually puts in the time and effort to make something as visually interesting in a visual media, which is something a lot of people seem to be afraid of doing. So kudos on Pep for doing that. And also the writing and characters, it sort of reminds me of Silent Hill in a way, and I really do like it.
Get out of my head.
You're gonna look back on this moment and think to yourself, he was right.
Get out of my fucking head!
Delinquent Pair and Revenge of the Spartans, because these seem to be the most interesting machinimas I've seen in a while, with Delinquent Pair being more of a crime-centered mafia drama, with a bit of interesting dialogue and some a bit polarizing themes that make you question your own beliefs, because in the third episode, it's probably my favorite episode, the main couple is a 30 to 40-year-old man and an underage girl, and that's something I didn't really like as a practice, and yet the machinima convinced me to like these characters, which was very conflicting with my moral beliefs. It's an interesting machinima series, and hopefully it finally concludes or whatever. And Revenge of the Spartans is also a visually interesting machinima with a bunch of color changes and a bit of ambiguous themes and a bit of an ambiguous narrative structure, in that there's things that are taken out of order. There are a bunch of flashbacks, and you cut between the past and the present and the future, I believe. I don't know. The thing about this machinima is that it's very unclear what's to be taken literally and what's to be taken figuratively. Like, are these events in the characters' heads? Is it just like a visual metaphor? I don't know, but one thing I think the machinima does that's very interesting is how it handles its characters, and that's through what the opposite effect of character development to something I like to call character deconstruction, in which the characters are very strong, they are very headstrong to their beliefs at the very beginning of the machinima, but as the machinima unfolds and more things happen to the characters, they sort of lose belief in their own strength, they lose confidence, they begin to question their own moral standings, and it kind of reveals the hypocrisy in their own decisions and sort of the evilness in their actions. It kind of reveals the true nature of themselves, and going down to a rabbit hole of anxiety, stress, and inevitably depression. It's kind of interesting to see that done in machinima, because you don't really see that much. You don't see those themes kind of tackled, and it kind of... The thing about these two machinimas is that they're so unique, and no one has been able to do them or redo them or outdo them what they do best, and they're honestly very unique in what they do, and I honestly recommend them. Anything by IDEO706, because this guy is the king of Gmod animations, in some respects the king of random, fucking insane comedy. It's ludicrous on the things he does, but they work so well, and it's so goddamn funny. It's like everything is made in his footprints. You can't recreate Kitty style successfully. You can't redo some of the magic he does in his videos, which is really depressing since he passed away back in 2015, 2016, I believe. Kitty left a void that no one has been able to fill, and it's honestly depressing, but looking back at his videos, they're still as good. I honestly recommend you go watch them. They're a blast to watch, and sometimes they're very relatable, especially to people who are going to middle school or high school, just you give them a watch. They're very personally made videos.
Oh, darn. I'm not allowed off the property without permission. Goddamn you, Jew.
What you say? Oh, that you only meant.
And a fight scene by Lindeville. I don't fucking know how you pronounce his name, but Jesus Christ, this guy is good at making fight scenes. Like, minus the fact that there's just like using choreography, cinematography, and just using forge of these games he uses to their fullest potential is just honestly amazing that I haven't seen anyone be able to replicate or even outdo. His fights are honestly the best I've seen so far, even surpassing that of Rise of the Spartans or anything Arbiter has done. And I honestly give him a watch. He doesn't have that many views for the amount of effort he puts into his videos, and it's honestly a shame. Altman 2 and Assault on the Control Room. Two of the best and most funniest machinimas that were ironically and somehow unironically made bad and somehow are good. They're just machinimas that take themselves so seriously but unseriously. Like, they know it's a joke, but they take it to such a degree that it's just so funny just to laugh at how self-aware these things are and just poking fun at just badly made machinimas and their plots. It's so good. Oh my god.
We're going in!
And now, my most favorite machinima of all time, Arby and the Chief. Arby and the Chief is a very personal machinima to me because it was one of the first I've ever watched and one of the only few that ever stuck around each and every single week trying to find for a new episode, besides Red vs. Blue, and I'll get to that later. What makes Arby and Chief feel special to me is how personal and relatable it felt to not only me now, but also back in time. It honestly feels like a time capsule of the gaming culture and things that happened back in the day. Like with the first season, which was just Arby and Chief just commenting on Halo 3, some of its mechanics, gameplay stuff, and the updates and DLC that kept coming out with each release. With each another season, they would add on, like talking about gaming culture, their own personal drama within the household, even with going on to long-running plots with different characters and such. It was kind of an evolving series as it went on and on, from talking about gaming culture to going on and having interpersonally drama and plot-driven narratives as the series went on. And then arise a subgenre of machinima with just machinimas taking place within the game itself, with like pre-game lobby, matchmaking, and film, which were also favorites of mine. And not only that is how self-aware and self-contained the series is. Like, you can just pop in any episode from like the original few seasons, you can just watch it on the fly without having to need it from the get-go. And it's just how eccentric and just how well written it all is. Like, this is a machinima that feels unique to only something that John and Graham can make. Like, no one else can do it. It's like a mixture of machinima and live-action puppeteering with its own like satire, but also a bit of optimism thrown in. It's honestly, in my opinion, it's honestly the best machinima ever made, just because of how well written but also personal it is and how relatable it is at times, especially with some of the relevance and topics that they discussed back in the day that's still relevant today.
You'll never catch me. Fuck! Oh, yeah.
So those are my favorite machinimas. I probably missed a bunch since I've seen a lot of machinimas and I don't really keep a track of what I've watched, but I don't know, there could be a few more that I like that I haven't mentioned, but we'll just keep this here as a definitive list until I make an official list, but